Hi, we're going to talk about value-based pricing today, or also known as value-based fees or value-based offers. And more specifically, why charging by the hour is limiting the impact of your work. If you're an educator, coach, mentor, I work with women who have education businesses in the creative arts, singers, songwriters, musicians, producers, creative writers, movement experts, visual artists. Currently, my main niche is singers and singer-songwriters because that's what I do as my art. But this extends to any woman in the creative arts. I think you want to work less. I think you want to earn more money. I think you want to, I think the thing that used to keep me awake at night was, is the work working? Are the clients getting the results? You want the clients to get results, and you want it to be very energy giving. Work with very goal orientated clients who are just a joy. You want to be in continuous growth yourself. You love learning, so you want to be able to continue updating your knowledge and going deeper into your expertise. And you have a desire, I mean, this is a bonus feature, but I'm very passionate about this aspect, and this is really why my whole business is called Artistry First. You have a desire to create and play yourself. I'm like, if I could really empower women in the creative arts financially so that they had enough time and energy to go out and take some risks themselves in their art form, that would be amazing. Let's compare the difference between what I see as value-based fees and cost-based fees. These terms are from a guy named Alan Weiss. I think he's written 60 books. The books are great. His most popular one is called $1 Million Consulting. He also has another book, which is where I started with this, called Value-Based Fees. I see it as peers in partnership. I think that's the healthiest relationship dynamic you can experience with a client, that you're eye to eye with them. You're not like pointing down at them, being directive, saying do this, or you're not in servitude to them, trying to make sure that they're getting everything and that they feel like you're not too expensive and you're doing a great job, and almost like an employer-employee scenario. This is often the case, that we just turn our clients into our boss and we just have another version of a job. So we're peers in partnership. That's what it feels like to when you're offering value-based fees. It's vision driven. So we'll get into exactly how to create these value-based offers. The most important thing is that you help design a vision with the prospect that you're about to potentially sign. That you can see, oh, here's the direction you and I need to move in together, and this is where I'm going. This is how I will support you in terms of process through that. But you're both clear in the vision, and you're like, yeah, I'm in. Are you in? Let's go. There's a level of stepping up. If we're pricing value-based fees, means pricing for the, you might say, transformation, the result. I think it's more about pricing for the direction and the process. But I think that it needs to, if that's what we're pricing for, man, what they're going to achieve and experience and the person they're going to become along the way is so incredibly valuable. And I think you should charge accordingly for that. And I feel like the investment from them, if it's a higher investment than they're used to making in something like this, it creates a level of commitment from their end, and you reflect that commitment back. So both parties have to step up into this engagement. I love value-based fees, pricing for the outcome, for the transformation, because it gives me scope to be generous. I want to be available and accessible to my clients. I can be with them in it. I don't want just the grounded, calm, after the storm reflection on what went down last week. I want the voice memo of them panicking about something or worrying about something or overthinking something, and to be able to intervene and bring clarity and be on the journey and in real time with them when I'm needed the most. There's no meter running on my time. I have priced the engagement accordingly so that I can be accessible in that way. And I have yet to have somebody take the piss out of that. I suppose that's in the client selection. You're auditioning them as much as they're auditioning you in that first conversation you have together. So you'll know, oh yeah, that there's a mutual understanding and respect, and this is going to work and flow. With value-based fees, we're doing everything we can before we say yes and engage in the engagement to know that the work is going to work. Now, we can't be perfectly sure of anything, but you should know from your own track record, from your own expertise, from your own pattern recognition when it comes to this person you're about to sign up, that this is going to work. If they go through this process, they're going to achieve what they want to achieve. Now, how that will unfold can be quite emergent, can be quite surprising, but generally people go through, with me and with the clients I'm working with, they go through a similar process. So if we compare all of that now to cost-based fees, we're in that service dynamic, which I mentioned before. I had an experience in 2020. It was the last time I charged per hour. So I had a singing school, and I had created all this leverage for myself where I wasn't teaching any of the lessons anymore. I had teachers in my teaching school teaching for me, and I was just running the school. And then COVID hit, and we lost about 60% of our client base. And I was like, okay, Gemma, you're going to have to go on Zoom and teach some lessons. And I'm like, grand. So I start doing that, and I'm just charging, I think, €80 an hour at the time. And I was meeting this particular guy on Thursdays. He would drain me so much because I felt like he thought it was very expensive. He thought my sessions were very expensive. And so I always felt like on the clock with him. I felt like I was failing him all the time. I was trying to throw every solution at him, and I just felt in servitude to him. And the dynamic, now that could have just been him, but generally it always felt a little bit like restrictive or constraining. And I said, look, as an experiment, there was another girl I was working with, and I was like, can you just not pay me? And she's like, this feels weird. And I'm like, just please. And so that allowed me then, you know, with this, as a singing teacher, you're like, keep them singing, they need to sing, they need to feel like they sang for the whole hour. And with her, I was able to do strategy work, and we were developing her artist brand, and she was going to release her EP, and we're figuring out music videos and all this cool stuff. And the whole thing like expanded and opened up because I didn't feel like I was on the clock as her singing teacher. And then that gave me the idea then to start my next business, which was called Pro Vocal Artist. And then that was an artist mentorship development program. So that was like a big lesson for me of the dynamic that I didn't like that hourly billing was creating. Of course, you can create vision and just say, we're going to work over this 12 sessions and this is the goal and you're going to get to there and all of that. So you can bake that in, but it's like vision is the whole architecture of a value-based offer. €500 an hour seems expensive, right? Whereas somebody investing over the year 12k for an immersive mentorship to finally step into their artistry, good investment, right? Like, I've come away now from this leverage of the singing school. I ended up selling the singing school, come away from that going, oh God, this isn't working good, going back to one-to-one for me. So I'll do courses and I'll do group coaching and I'll do masterminds and I'll learn all about that. And I scaled my way into a life of marketing. A life of convincing people that this is a great course, you should do the course, or, oh, you should come to this bootcamp, and, oh, you should be in the group. And they're like, well, I just kind of want to work with you. And I'm like, no, all I do is groups, so you need to be in the group. Like, the group is cool because this is why group work works. And I was just like, but people are like, but I just want you. And I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't work, because if you just want me, then that means I need to go back to one-to-one coaching, which means I have to charge by the hour, which means I have to work maybe 16 to 20 hours a week to get to anywhere close to 10k. And that's not even, I want to scale more than that. And you see my problem? It's not that group, I'm anti-group coaching or creating like curriculum or structures. It's just, I don't like them when they're created as the only way we can see to scale. And I think at the core of something valuable as an offering from a coach or a teacher or a mentor is meaningful support during application. So you can watch this YouTube video today and go, yeah, it was very educational, and some of it will like click with you and you might have a paradigm shift and that'll be great, new information. But Jesus, there's nothing like somebody being beside you when you're applying it and when you're actually making the changes to your life, and all the things that come up, all the resistances and the way the nervous system starts slowing you down and the ups and downs of it. Like, I just think that is where we can provide enormous impact and value. Like, it's all fine and good in theory, what I'm talking about right now, but start applying it to your situation. You're going to be like, how am I? What if this? There's lots of things that are going to come up that are very bespoke and unique to your context or your business. So having somebody beside you to figure that out with you, almost like a business partner, is so valuable. In the same way an artist needs somebody to walk alongside them through all the different things that are going to be thrown at them internally, emotionally, and externally, environmentally. Like, if you're creating a curriculum or you're creating group coaching, going, do you know what? I think for my clients to get better results, they need to be in contact with peers more. I have a group coaching, it's a free thing that I do, but I think it's important for them to see each other and meet each other. But I created that because that's what I think is good for them. And then I'm starting to see a future in which I'll need a curriculum. I think I need a little bit more process for people. So that will come. But the foundation of it is me and my relationship to them. And that's the work I want to do. I studied leadership coaching because I was so excited about the power of a one-on-one conversation. Value is not your deliverables, so the things that you can give, how many sessions, how long, how much, how many WhatsApps they can send to you, or how much access can they get, voice memo, or their worksheets or courses that you offer them, or you give them access to some coaching group thing. Your time, we've gone over this, how many contact hours they get with you. It's not your costs. Sometimes you have, you think, well, the rental on the venue is going up, and it's very nice that we have this nice room, so I should let them know that I'm passing on the cost of that. Never do that. Or the training that you're doing, or the way the taxes are, that's your problem, not their problem. Keep the client focused on what is valuable to them. Value is in the eye of the beholder. Will I tell this story? Okay, I'm going to tell this quick story. I was thinking about this last week, and I was looking up Photona. It's like a laser thing to try. I'm self-conscious of this part of my face here. It's dropping a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking this stuff up. Then you can get this radio frequency micro needling thing called Morpheus 8, I believe. I was looking that up, and I was like, okay, that's $1,000, that's 1,500. And I'm like, oh, but is it going to work? And I was talking to a dermatologist on Friday, and she was saying, it will work a little bit, but it's not a big difference. And I'm not spending €1,500 on something that's not going to make a big difference. I would prefer to spend $4,000 to $8,000 on a mini facelift that actually will get me the result. So what we're looking for are results. And that's what people are paying for. And isn't it funny that I'm willing to pay 4 times the amount and unwilling to pay 1/4 of the amount because I don't see the value. So value is results. I think with coaching, it's who they become. Overall, I think that's really the name of the game. There are quantitative results. The album is out. I booked the one-woman show. I did the open mic. I opened the exhibition. I published the book. The real life, tangible, made it happen moments. But I'm telling you, that underneath piece, that identity shift, that I finally gave myself permission to be an artist and to stop pushing this down and moved through all the resistances that were around there that were keeping these tender parts protected, that I actually allowed myself to go in and investigate and feel through and move through and get to the other side. That's the magic. That's the revolution. We're thinking about this outcome, becoming, and all arrived, ta-da, and wave your flag at the end. No, process. We are selling process. So we're zooming out. It's grounded in your experience and your expertise of what you've seen happen. And so, like, for example, let's say you're working with an artist, they want to release their first album, and you start at the beginning with getting them to tune in, to really reconnect with what their taste is, what they want to say, who they really are, getting them inspired, doing the artist way, going on artist dates, doing the morning pages, all of that, tuning in. Then the next part of the process is really dialing in the practice and getting them, you know, sending stuff over to you, and you're doing some feedback with them, and you're working through what's coming up and what's coming out. And maybe they're setting up their studio and they're getting into the DAW, whatever is going on there. And then the next phase might be, okay, we have to create things out in the world. There has to be some level of sharing, showing up, collaborating. How's the kind of rubber going to meet the road here? And that could be the process. Now, exactly when and how long, it could shift and change as to what comes up for that particular person you're working with. So you want to have room for the emergence, but you have a pretty good idea of, like, for that to happen, this has to happen first, and then that will happen next. The next thing the value is your commitment. Like, you're like, I am all in. I believe in you. And what's the guy's name from the Nike? Sonny. Oh, I'll have to put in his name somewhere here. You know, when he meets Michael Jordan, have you watched the Nike movie where he meets Michael Jordan, or he sees Michael Jordan, he scouts him when he's 18, and he's like, this guy has got to wear Nikes. And they come up with the Air Jordan and they sign him. So much of that was this guy at Nike believing in Michael Jordan's potential so much, and like willing to put everything on the line and to go all in on this guy's career and make him an ambassador of Nike. They ended up it was the first cut of gross revenue deal that was ever made in the history of, like, those kind of sports endorsements. That's what needs to kind of happen. Like, what it feels like for somebody to go, oh, this person means business and is so fully in my corner, and they believe in me and they see the vision. There are, like, constructs, boundaries, ways in which you're going to sell this offer, create this container, that are critical to the success of the container and of the coaching. Paid upfront as much as you possibly can. Money is worth more now than it is later. But the other thing is, there's just something about getting that out of the way so that we can just be in relationship. I never want to feel like somebody's subscribing to me every month by paying me a monthly retainer. I'm just like, no, the money we paid for is for me to go yes, and for you to go yes. And once we've said yes to each other and we have basically made the contract by you paying me, that's over and done with. Now let's work. I've charged enough to create enough margin. Like, sometimes I'll get subcontractors in to work on a project, maybe a graphic designer or somebody to help us with ads. And I don't mind covering that cost because I'm like, I have enough margin, I'm abundant. So that's my little education video today on value-based fees. I'm very bullish about it, as you can tell. If you're interested in working with me, I have a free school group where we meet up mostly every week. Great women in there. I'm focused on the creative arts and women, and getting them charging more money, having more time, and working with people that just give them loads of joy, and then putting cool art into the world as a result. Okay, thanks, bye.